Imagine a world without limitations, a world where anything is possible, a world where your creativity does not have any constraints. Sounds like a dream, right? But what if I told you that limitations, far from being obstacles, can become powerful catalysts for innovation and creativity, especially in the field of music? Today I want to explore this idea and show you all how embracing constraints can lead to new musical potential and possibly create new musical genres as well. Let's look back at some historical examples where constraints have played a significant role in shaping the music. The most famous being the blues, born out of the harsh realities of African American community in the early 20th century. Blues emerged as a form that expressed their pain, their hardship, and their resilience. An early blues musician often just had two instruments, one being the guitar and the second being their voice. So now they have to creatively find ways to convey their complex emotions and experiences. The blues went on to influence every form of popular music that we know today. Another great example would be the emergence of hip hop in the 1970s. Young people in South Bronx did not have access to musical instruments. They did not have the money to buy drum kits. They could not afford a mic. They even could not go to a studio. So what did they do? They took a bunch of pre-recorded sounds, they put it on a sampler and started creating music. Back in the day, a lot of musicians looked back at hip hop and said, how can you call this music? How is this music? Putting pre-recorded sounds on a sampler and pressing a few buttons, how is this music? But today we live in a world where hip hop is a global culture and it has influenced many artists like A.R. Rahman, Hans Zimmer, John Mayer, Ed Sheeran, anyone. Hip hop's limitation actually led to technological advancements in the field of music. As a musician myself, I've first-hand experienced the power of limitation. Be it working with tight deadlines or be it working with limited set of instruments, I've found that limitations make me think of the music that I'm making deeper. I've always found new ways to artistically portray myself. Some of the most innovative and successful projects have come by embracing these limitations rather than fighting against them. My folk collective Inayat, we conceptualized the album Danka, which was released last year. It was an experimental theatrical album that revolved around the sound of a danka, any percussion instrument. Through relatable stories and history, we offered new perspectives. We spoke about Ramayana, but through Ravan's sister Surpanaka's perspective. We spoke about environmentalism and animal cruelty, but through a conversation between Bagheera and Mowgli. We spoke about Mansoor's Analak and the concept of Veda Veda. In its essence, the album was mythological and folklore. It needed a lot of grandness, but we were limited in my bedroom. My bedroom with no acoustic treatment and very limited set of equipment to record this album. That's when I started thinking that these limitations are actually making us think more about the concepts and the ideologies rather than making music that is just technically impressive. In my folk collective Inayat, we don't have two separate guitarists. So it actually gave me an opportunity to rethink my acoustic guitar. So usually, a guitarist would play leads and one guitar would play rhythm. But this limitation actually made me think of the guitar and I thought, why can't I play the both? So I'm going to play a piece called The White Lotus and this is the melody that I play. But I also want to add a D major 7th chord which sounds something like this. Beautiful, right? Now I also have to keep the melody in mind. So what do? I change the tuning of my B string to a C sharp. So in the key of B, my C sharp becomes the major seventh, and that's when I can play the guitar with both leads and the rhythm. So it's a very small tweak in the tuning, but I wouldn't have come to this point if it wasn't for the limitations. I wouldn't have thought of this if I wasn't limited with the idea that I can only have one guitarist on stage. So I'm going to present the White Lotus. So when you start embracing these limitations, you start creating your own unique style. These limitations actually helped me making my own unique playing, and it helped me make my guitar sound different. I don't see limitations as a wall, but as a door that can be opened. A door that can be opened to a bunch of possibilities and opportunities. So let's dive deeper into the limitations and how you can harness its power to create music. So I might be talking about music, but this can be applied to anything that you put your mind to. I'm saying this once more. I'm only talking about music, but you can put this to anything that you're doing. The first point being the starting point. So limitations can actually act as a springboard and can give you an amazing starting point. Imagine that you have to write a song and the world is unlimited and you just can't get that idea right. So I remember that one of the days I was walking the roads of Bombay and I happened to see a construction site. And on that particular day, I wanted to write a song. And the world was getting big, wide, and unlimited. The ideas were flowing. My mind was running everywhere possible. So what did I do? I narrowed it down. I limited myself. I saw a yellow board with a few safety guidelines written on it. I took a picture of it. I got back home, and I posed myself a challenge. I told myself that these are your limitations. You are going to write a song only using the words from this yellow board. And I actually eventually wrote a song about a helmet. And yeah, that's my first point. You limit your starting point and more will come out. The second point being unconventional approaches. So limitations push artists into uncharted territories. Sounds and stories that were never told before, you start exploring them when you start being unconventional. So I'll give you an example. What if you have to write a song only in the kitchen? What if you can only use equipment that are present in the kitchen, like let's say utensils or plates, and also other things, like just imagine recording a song in the kitchen. Imagine recording a song with just a stationary box and the items inside it. When I first started realizing the power of limitations, I actually made a 1 minute track only using an eraser, pencil, and a sharpener. That was the first time I thought that even a pencil can make me grow. Another thing would be that another actually very good unconventional approach would be using your mouth to create the sound of a kick and a snare, which would then be called as beatboxing. Leading on to my third, the innovation and evolution. Throughout the history of music, we have seen that many musical genres and styles have come from artists who are working within these limitations. Punk rock, which was characterized by its raw simplicity. Bands like the Ramones and the Sex Pistols played music, very minimal music, not because they couldn't do it, they had very limited technical knowledge. They had very limited technical equipment present. So they focused on more rawness, authentic, and punk rock's music was direct. It was straight in your face. And limitations actually made that happen for punk rock. The DIY ethic of punk rock went on to not even influencing music but also fashion, visual arts, performance, and even the popular culture today. Another great example would be Queen's We Will Rock You. I just have to stomp my feet twice and clap my hands once, and everyone will know. They limited themselves to only using body percussion, and the result was millions of people joining them and doing this. That sound became the sound of their era, which will lead me to my fourth point, which is collaboration and community. I think a lot about this because when artists are working within limited resources, they often turn to each other for support and inspiration. Limitations can actually foster collaborations and communities. It can help artists build relationships with other artists and have a sense of community, which is not only good for creating music, but also good for personal growth and development. My fifth point being emotional depth. When you pose with limitations, you often dig deeper and deeper into your emotions and experiences. And you start making music that is impactful, that is emotional. And you start creating music that is just not technically impressive but also very emotional at that time. Another example of this would be the revival of the folk music in America in the 60s, which was led by Bob Dylan. He just had a guitar and a harmonica, which were readily available and inexpensive at that time. He went on the road and he inspired many people with his simplicity. His music actually was quite accessible and relatable. And that also comes from the power of limitation. So what I'm trying to say is that limitations can unlock new potential in musical artists. And any artist, actually. Even if you don't have 4 strings on your guitar, even if your guitar is broken, go ahead and play it. Sell the sound. You can actually be confident with your limitations. And when you start being confident with your limitations, there's nothing that can stop you. And I'm going to leave you on this final note that the next time you come across a limitation in your creative work, don't fight against it. Explore it and see where it leads you. You may come across a completely new world of sounds and stories that are yet to be explored. On that note, I'm Ritik Mehta, music composer, producer, and filmmaker. Thank you so much.